Okay, so now everything's cut. My cut is probably never straight because I can't cut a straight line to save my life. So first off, I start with this thicker tape. It helps me get a better grip, I guess. And then while using this stand, I pull whichever piece I feel like doesn't really matter. So like this pattern, for instance, it's light on one side and it's dark on the other. So this side's darker, this side's lighter at the end. I put the lighter side on the inside, just in case the darker one bleeds through a little bit, it doesn't look so bad. So I'll stick it in this stand, because the stand, if you can see, it makes the paper like nice and snug here at the bottom. You can't even tell, it's like completely flush with the cup. So that helps. Where some people keep rolling, this keeps it. All right, I make sure that my top is nice and flush. So there's maybe a little bit that hangs over, but not very much, if any. It's like completely flush. All right, stick it in this holder. Make sure the part of the tape that the paper that you're pulling, the tape is nice and tight on there, because if not, it will just pop right off. And then pull super tight. Smooth it out. Make sure there's not one air bubble on there. It needs to be like, let's see if this will focus, completely smooth, no air bubbles. Leaving an air bubble in there will cause the heat to go through, and then you'll get that ugly seam. Then I use the skinnier tape. I suppose I could use the thick tape all the way down, but for me, that thick tape is more expensive than the skinnier tape, so I just use the skinnier tape. I do kind of tend to overlap my tape just a little bit. I don't know why I do that. It's just what I do, and my cups seem to turn out, usually turn out pretty good. Every now and then I still get an ugly ass cup, and I'll be mad at the seams or the top or the bottom, but I'm probably the only person that notices it. So as I'm going down and taping, if you notice, I'm rubbing each one to make sure that there is not an air pocket on my seam. I do use shrink wrap. I don't use the tape method. I have before. I don't like the stickiness that comes with the tape method after you peel it off. But if you do the tape method, use a sheet of regular paper. So wrap that around your design and then put the tape on it. That helps to limit the stickiness. Again, but if you do get some sticky, when you're washing the cup, use almond oil, or I have grapeseed oil. It's just stuff that you find in your kitchen. So even probably extra virgin olive oil will work. So you're just going to use that. You're going to rub it all around the cup with some soap. But rub that first, and then rub some soap and warm water, and all your stickiness comes right off. There's no need for Goo Gone and that kind of stuff, because Goo Gone can take off the ink, and you don't want that. I also set my oven to 400. I have an internal thermostat because my oven doesn't get to 400. My temperature's usually about 350 to 355, and I cook for 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is perfect. I don't have a problem with blacks. My pinks are good. Reds are good. I don't really have any challenges with any color other than maroon. I can't get maroon. Maybe it's the ink. I'm not sure. All right, I'm almost done wrapping. You have to make sure that you don't feel any soft spots. If you feel a soft spot, like it's popping or loose, you need to find that piece of tape and then kind of tape it tighter. All right. Everything's taped nice and tight. There isn't an air bubble at all down my seam. Seam smooth. Take back to my thicker tape. I do wrap the top of my cup. I probably don't need to anymore, but I still wrap it. And I also pull that like really super tight. I do prefer edge to edge on my tumblers. Some people leave the white lip at the bottom, so they cut their design just a little bit shorter so that they can have the white lip at the bottom. That helps to prevent the scorching that you will get if your bottom's not tight enough. But I prefer to do the whole thing. I don't like to leave a white line. Okay, so my top is wrapped, and I do that just so that I don't have paper sticking out when I flip it over. So that's why I do the top first, because, and again, make sure there's no bubbles. I do that first because I leave a lip here at the bottom. The reason for the lip is because I do tape my bottoms, and so this will have a little bit will go on the bottom. But back to my scissors. So I cut these pieces at the bottom here at an angle about the same width as my green tape. Sometimes a little bit smaller, sometimes a little bit bigger. It just, whatever, however it cuts. But they are at a slight angle. Okay, so you see that? It's kind of fringy at an angle there. All right, then I take my skinny tape, not the fat one, because it doesn't catch those the way that I want it to. And I pull it tight, super, super tight. Rubbing here at the, yes, that's hot, buddy. Go cook it in your house and turn off your vacuum. Pull it really, really tight and kind of rub here. Let me see. Kind of rub here on the side to make sure that you don't have any looseness, and tape it down. You're gonna repeat that all the way around the cup. It also helps a little bit if you kind of angle it, the tape, and pull really, really tight. So if you see, there's no air bubbles here. It's pretty tight along the edge. My edge is nice and smooth. There's no wrinkling yet. Sometimes I'll get a little bit of like bubbling or wrinkling, and then I'll just go back and add some more tape to the loose spot and pull it again. And like I said, it's easy if you start straight here at on this side, you start straight, but then when you're pulling the tape, pull it to an angle. Pull it really tight. I think this is another reason I sit on the floor, for all the pulling that I have to do so I don't fall out of a chair. Smooth with your finger. It's also helpful if you use longer strips of tape, because the shorter ones you can't grab the extra paper like down from past where you cut it. So I'm also grabbing extra paper, maybe if it's loose there or whatever, around the bottom of the cup. Almost done. You're gonna be like, damn, this girl's video is long. But this is what works for me. I mean, everybody has a different way that it works for them. This is what I found that's worked for me. And in 3 weeks during the Christmas holidays, like just from maybe around, like, it was after Thanksgiving for sure, up until Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve. So those 3 weeks in between, I made well over 100 tumblers just like this. being that I have to chase around a toddler, my husband would take him out or whatever, and I would sit here and get him done. But I would try to wrap and cook about 10 tumblers a day. And at first I was doing it for 6 minutes, and then I was like, this is taking way too long. So I dropped it down to 5 minutes, and I was able to get a lot done in a shorter amount of time, which time is of the essence, right? This last 2 pieces are always going to be kind of tricky because it does tend to kind of bubble just a little bit more right there. You see that where it's like extra here? And that's because your extra paper is pushing tighter around it, right? So have one last piece here and just kind of push along as you're taping to make it super, super tight. Should be pretty good. All right, so we're nice and tight. There's tons of tape on this cup, but I guarantee my edges are gonna come out pretty fantastic here. Everything is nice and tight. There is no bubbles. Everything is bubble free, which is, I think the bubbles let the heat in. So that's that, and give me just a bit and I'll come back and show you the finished product.